Okay, today we're gonna react to Voidzilla. I honestly have no idea if it's about President Trump or Obama, so we'll see about that. But anyway, if you like the video, give Voidzilla a sub for sure. I'll link the video in the description. And I saw a few of his videos on Asmon Gold's channel, and yeah, I think they're pretty good. So let's see it on our own eyes now.
Is far more implicated in the Epstein files than we previously thought. This is according to a Wall Street Journal article. The Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files. A lot of people are going to tell you, oh, that's old news. We knew he was in the flight logs. We knew he was in these phone records, but that's not what we're talking about. Those were already public. Jeffrey's black book, that was already out there. This is a new review of documents that we're talking about. We're going to go through all of it, and we're going to start with Trump actually being asked directly if he was told by his attorney general whether he was mentioned in the Epstein files, and he says, no.
Did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the
No,
files?
she's given us just a very quick briefing.
So there we have Trump denying being told that his name was in the Epstein files, but a lot of people...
Tell me, how did Musk know that he's in the Epstein files? And again, like I mentioned it a couple of times before, we know President Trump likes to sue news outlets for fake information or defamation, if you want. So why didn't he sue Elon Musk when he's 100% sure he's not in the Epstein files? And again, before we get to it, being in the Epstein files doesn't necessarily mean that you're on the Epstein's client list. You can still be in the Epstein files and actually be innocent. There was one of the lawyers who was in the Epstein files, it leaked out, and he proved that he's innocent. So, but again, I guess only time will tell where the situation is, or how the situation is with President Trump.
People were wondering, well, then why are you acting so weird with these files?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
It's pretty boring stuff that were made up by Obama.
Luckily, we unearthed an interview where Trump actually hints to the fact that he was in fact told that he was in the Epstein files and that it was all fake stuff.
They've been running these files, and so much of the things that we found were fake with me.
Now, that file review is going to be separate from what we talked about with the flight logs, the black book, things like that. According to the Wall Street Journal, when the Justice Department officials reviewed what Attorney General Pam Bondi called a truckload of documents related to Epstein earlier this year, they discovered that Donald Trump's name appeared multiple times, according to senior administration officials. So, if you remember phase one, right? Phase one was a big scandal because Pam Bondi released these files, but it turned out that these files were an incomplete list of mostly already released stuff. So what did she actually release? Well, she released the flight log and she released the contact book. Then what happened? Well, Pam Bondi, super embarrassed, reached out to Kash Patel and said, hey, I need a bunch of new files. This is not enough. Give us more. She went on Fox News, started talking about, oh, I've got this truckload of documents that is separate from the flight log, from the black book, that we're going to review and release to the American public.
Looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? Yeah. So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived.
Will everything else be made public?
It's always about protecting the victim. But you know what? We believe in transparency, and America has the right to know.
So there we clearly see there were two separate reviews that happened. First, there's the disclosure in phase one of kind of the stuff everyone knew. And then Pam Bondi goes, oh, we got a truckload of new documents. We're going to review those and release those. And that's the review that flagged a bunch of times that Donald Trump's name appeared in here. And that's when they changed their story. Why is this a big deal? Previously, the appearance in the flight logs and the black book were the only appearances we really had of the president. There was really nothing else related to Trump there. It's also notable because Senator Dick Durbin said that the FBI was explicitly instructed to flag Trump's name if it came up in the files.
Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned.
Right. They had a new review where thousands of FBI agents combed through these things, flagging the president's name anywhere it appeared in this truckload of new documents. And that is what we're talking about here. These are new revelations, new pieces of evidence about our president's possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, what are these files? That's what we all want to know, right? Unfortunately, it's being heavily covered up and heavily blocked. Obviously, one answer is the Wall Street Journal's prior reporting on this letter that Trump supposedly, allegedly wrote to Epstein, which talks about a secret that they both share. It's worth noting that the president said he was going to and then did sue the Wall Street Journal over this. He's seeking $10 billion about this. But the most interesting thing about this case is...
Again, where's the lawsuit against Elon? He must have knew that he's in the Epstein files. Otherwise, he would definitely sue Elon Musk. Come on. Maybe the guy's not a journalist, but he owns Twitter, right? X. He's followed by millions of people. Like the defamation case against Elon Musk would be worth more than $10 billion. So, I don't know.
That the Wall Street Journal, its original claim was that this birthday book letter was all in the DOJ's possession earlier, meaning it would have been part of this truckload of new evidence unless it was destroyed. And so one of the best ways to disprove or prove the existence of this thing would just be opening up the Epstein files, which is part of the reason it's so sketchy that they're not doing it. If you're saying that this reporting is false, if you're saying that this birthday book did not exist, then why not just release the files where this birthday letter was supposedly contained? In fact, in this story, we actually have breaking news. Epstein's victim's lawyer now says that the estate of Epstein are actually in possession of this birthday book containing Trump's letter and would be willing to turn it over to authorities. So we'll have to see where that goes.
Possession of that birthday book.
The executors of this date are in possession of that book.
So already, if true, not only is that a kill shot to this lawsuit, it also proves that there's new mentions of our president in the Epstein files, which are now being covered up. Another big part of this cover-up story has been our government literally shutting down early to avoid a vote on the release of the Epstein files. This is because there were a bunch of representatives ready to vote actually in a bipartisan way on the release of the Epstein files. And a lot of Republicans had splintered off from the party line of not releasing it, backing the president. Speaker Mike Johnson, because he was fearing this, announced he was cutting short the week's legislative business and sending the House home early for the summer to avoid having to hold votes on releasing the files. I can't think of something more sick than stonewalling the release of files related to a trafficker to try to protect the people implicated in it. I can't think of something more disgusting. Yeah. Except for the hypocrisy that it also represents, because previously, the same guy went on Benny Johnson's show, a conservative commentator, and said he was totally open to releasing the files and would vote on it.
Subpoenaing the Epstein documents from the DOJ, whether you would support either of those.
I'm for transparency. We're intellectually consistent in this. Look, Reagan used to tell us we should trust the American people. I believe in that principle. I know President Trump does as well. And we should put everything out there and let the people decide it.
Right. We should trust the American people until it's time to release it and actually vote on it, and then you shut everything down early to avoid it. Now,
That's
later,
crazy,
Mike Johnson
man.
came out and said he doesn't want to be lectured on transparency by the Democrats who didn't release the files when they were in power. And you see a similar line coming from the White House about this.
Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an suggestion for any Democrat to make.
Now, to this, I just have to say, yeah, they're scoring political points now, saying release the files, just like you guys scored political points when you were the party that wasn't in power.
We need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
But the people who actually care about this issue, we just want the files out. So you know an easy way you can prevent having the other side score political points by saying, hey, release the files. You can actually do it. Instead, we have a bunch of performative stuff like this from AG Pam Bondi and the president, where right after the reporting on the birthday letter about Trump and Epstein's supposed secret, all of a sudden, like a snap, Pam Bondi comes out and goes, oh, we gotta unseal the grand jury transcripts, despite knowing that there's almost zero chance of that happening. And of course, today we find out that it was denied because they had literally no grounds to do it. It's like not something courts do for a public interest. In fact, the irony of that whole stunt to pretend to be transparent was that the Epstein survivors, which supposedly these people care about so much, were not told, they were not informed that this grand jury information was going to be unsealed. So ironically, despite saying that they want to protect the survivors of Epstein, what they really want to protect are the third parties implicated in all of this, which is why they won't release the Epstein files they could release right now, which is all in their possession, these thousands of documents that they have. In fact, the attempts to distract from the real issue of the Epstein files not being released, the cover-up that's clearly happening, it's actually been breathtaking. In fact, it compelled Trump to release 230,000 pages of documents on MLK's assassination, which I guess is fine, but like, can you release the conspiracy now? Why are all the conspiracies revealed decades later when we can't hold anyone accountable? But at the time the conspiracies may be happening, all of a sudden it's, oh, well, no, we can't possibly do that. Now, there's another performative thing you should be aware of, and that's the meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell that's supposedly going to happen. The Department of Justice now says they're going to actually talk to Ghislaine directly.
Ooh, that's
Quote,
big.
I have communicated with the counsel for Ms. Maxwell to determine whether she would be willing to speak with prosecutors from the department. This is confirmed by Maxwell's attorney, who says, I can confirm we are in discussions with the government and that Ghislaine will always testify truthfully. We are grateful to President Trump for his commitment to uncovering the truth in this case. Why is this deeply concerning? Because the idea had been floated that there would be a public testimony to Congress under oath by Maxwell. But this is not that. This is a private meeting with the same people who have been sweeping this issue under the rug the entire time. And what is Ghislaine really focusing on? What is she actually trying to get? She's trying to get immunity. We already know she's trying to get the president's attention and say, hey, you guys kind of screwed me. You wouldn't want to be seen as, you know, not being a man of your word. We've seen those like vaguely threatening public statements by Maxwell. So what exactly are they going to get out of this? She's totally incentivized to clear everyone from this administration rather than get the truth out. Now, I should say we actually have inside information on this because recently a bunch of world leaders have been meeting with not journalists, but get this, podcasters to talk about the world affairs of the day. Podcaster Tim Dillon talks about his dinner with what turns out to later be J.D. Vance and some other people where they discussed the affairs of Epstein and stuff like that. And he floats the idea of Maxwell testifying.
Ghislaine must speak. She should testify before Congress. A couple of the people at the dinner, again, it was a small dinner, 3 or 4 people. They said that is not on the table at the moment, but it's not impossible. Nobody's super jazzed about it.
So the administration appears to have told Tim Dillon in a private meeting that, yeah, we really don't love the idea of her testifying, but apparently they love the idea of meeting her privately to talk to her behind closed doors where we can't know what is said. Speaking to the only person who's ever been punished at all for Epstein's crimes and whose only incentive is to herself get immunity and get off the hook for all of this. So I obviously think this is a terrible idea. I think it's more of the same cover up. Until they release these files, they're finished. And interestingly, Tim Dillon, the guy at this dinner with the administration, actually said as much.
I think if they do not release everything they have, they are done. If they do not release, and I told them that, you need to release everything you have.
Yeah, of course. Doesn't take a political analyst to tell you you need to release the files. But of course, that seems to be the one thing they refuse to do. They'll do anything. They'll release MLK files. They'll probably tell you their aliens exist just to avoid releasing the Epstein files. And that is the actually most incriminating part of all of this. It has been the reaction, not the files themselves, that has made this look so bad. The unhinged response to just simple demands for following up on their word, saying they were going to release the Epstein files. Then it's, oh, we looked, we found the president's name a bunch, and now we're not going to show you what's in there. That makes us all assume the worst about what's actually in here. So ultimately, look, I just believe we should get transparency. Obviously, there's a lot we don't know here, but a lot that has also been coming out, and it all paints a much darker picture than we previously knew.
Yep. Okay. Yep. So let's talk about it a little bit. So my opinion, I find it very interesting that President Donald Trump, he has so much experience with media. He's not a stupid guy, definitely. How is it possible that he dropped the ball this bad? I'm almost starting to think that he has some intentions with it, that he did all of this on purpose. Either it's a distraction from something else that's going on and he doesn't want us to know about it, because let's be honest, since the Epstein files, that's all we're talking about. I know now there's a new stuff with Barack Obama possibly committing treason or something like that, but it just doesn't fit together that President Trump, who's so good with media, who knows how to work them, would do something like this and then behave like, oh, we're talking still about Epstein? Like, what the hell? I don't know, it just doesn't look like President Trump we know, right? So I wonder, either one of my theories is there's obviously powerful people on the list, right? So if we, again, I have few theories. This one is not going to be about President Trump being on the client list. This one's going to be, there's a lot of powerful people on the list. It would, either they threatened President Trump or it would have some catastrophic consequences for US or US government. So what he actually did is he came up with this story, this idea that, yeah, no one's going to pay for Epstein, that's closed, because he knew it's going to cause outrage. And eventually, people, the citizens of US, will push the government to release these files. That's one of my guesses I have, because it's really weird behavior from President Trump. Like, I've never seen him losing so much against media, against public, and all of this, right? He always had some kind of support, always, all his moves were kind of thought through. But this one is really weird. Well, the second guess is he's protecting himself, right? And he knows that he can't really or how do you say it? I would say black out his name from the list, because there's a third party that know he's on the list. So unless he literally releases everyone, there's always going to be someone who's going to say, hey, President Trump's there as well. We have a proof. We know about it, whatever. And, well, there was a lot of theories that there's a third party who actually has the clients list, right? And it was very interesting that when Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu was in the White House, that's when President Trump actually announced that there's nothing on the Epstein list, the case is closed, no one's going to pay for it, right? So it's very suspicious, the timing of that. But again, it might be not true, right? And the most ridiculous thing about all of this is Democrats saying, oh, you should release it, you should release it. And people actually thinking that President Donald Trump is on the list. There is a concrete proof that he was raping or sex trafficking or whatever kids, right? Do you really think if there was a concrete proof of that Democrats would not release it prior to elections? I don't think so. If there was a proof, we would know about it way ahead. And yes, if there is something about, we know there's going to be a lot of stuff on Republicans, on Democrats, and powerful people, right? Like, everyone's going to be involved. There's no way we're not going to have any Republicans and any Democrats. We know about Bill Clinton, right? The rumors about his flight when he had some underage girls in the back of the flight. Who knows what happened? Might be a rumor, might not, right? But we heard a lot about Bill Clinton. So definitely that's the reason why Democrats didn't release it. Because either there's not enough proof or they were not willing to sacrifice their own. So it's really ridiculous that right now they're playing like the good cop. Like, hey, release it. No. So yeah, that's my guess about it. And again, I would like to mention again Elon Musk, what he said on the Twitter, and that President Trump did not sue him, which obviously is suspicious as well. What else they were talking about? I don't know if this is true. I saw this thing on the Fox News that actually they're working on the Epstein files. They have like 1,000 FBI agents working on it, working on exactly flagging President Trump's name and then victims, obviously, because they don't want to release the names of the victims, but also some of the offenders, which to me is ridiculous. Just release all of them. Like, for myself, I don't even care about the Epstein files. I just want the guilty people to pay for it. And obviously, we're going to get some scapegoat. Like, there's no way they're not going to give us anyone. And regarding Giselle or whatever her name is, Maxwell, yeah, that's definitely not good. Like, I think I saw some news today as well that she's been promised partial immunity if she cooperates, which is, again, ridiculous. Like, how can you trust someone like this? Like, unless she brings the concrete evidence against the people she's gonna name, I don't know. Like, if they have secret meeting or private meeting prior to her testifying, that doesn't sound good at all to me. And like I said, I hope in the future, maybe when JD is president in, I don't know, 15 years, I hope he's going to release Epstein files completely. Because let's be honest, 15, 20 years, most of the offenders will be dead. And that's the reason why now they're releasing MLK files, JFK files, because it's not going to hurt anyone. Yes, JFK files don't look too good for FBI and CIA, right? But at the same time, everyone who was in the leadership back then is probably dead. So, but anyway, so that was Voidzilla. Didn't disappoint. Very good video. So yeah, give him a like, give him a sub, and if you liked my comments, if you have any feedback, any comments to what I had to say, just comment down below. Click the like button, click subscribe, and yeah, we'll definitely talk about it a little bit more.